how can the Bengals stop the Ravens' rushing attack? Is there any hope that one of the worst tackling defenses in the NFL can contain both Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? Well, in this video, I'll give you a few reasons as to why the Bengals defense will be as prepared as they possibly can be for Baltimore's ground game. Hi again, Bengals fans. John Sheeran of A2C Sports Cincinnati, and let's talk about what needs to happen in order for the Bengals to beat the Ravens on Sunday. And being healthy along the defensive line, I don't think there's anything more important for this team right now. They have been decimated with injuries at both defensive tackle and edge defender for the first 4 weeks of the season, and things seem to be trending in the right direction here as both McKinley Jackson and Myles Murphy both returned to practice this week. They were each on IR for the first 4 weeks of the season. McKinley Jackson suffered a knee injury towards the beginning of training camp, and Myles Murphy suffered a knee sprain towards the end of training camp. Both have been severely missed at their respective positions, and specifically for Murphy, I feel like his absence has been felt more so because they've been forced to play Sam Hubbard more often, and at this point in his career, he needs to be on the field a little bit less in order for him to be the most effective. So the lack of depth behind Sam Hubbard has really impacted how well the Bengals can set the edge against the run. It's led to a lot of these explosive plays that they've given up. Murphy was expected to have a huge role coming out of the gate as the third edge defender on this team, and him not being out there has really impacted things in a negative way. McKinley Jackson is a rookie at defensive tackle. His role, even in his first game back, may not be big, but just having another competent body inside to fill in that rotation, that's obviously good news for them as well. As far as the starters go, BJ Hill, who missed the past 2 weeks with a hamstring injury, he also returned to practice and is expected to play, as is Trey Hendrickson, who pound for pound is the toughest player on this team. I don't even think it's relatively close. He suffered a stinger injury against the Panthers. He's in a lot of pain right now, and him playing through pain, practicing through pain, that's no surprise to me. He's probably going to be out there for Sunday, which gives the Bengals a pretty competent defensive line group for the first time all season. Okay, so health, player personnel, obviously two very important things, but what about execution? Because that's still been a major problem regardless who's been on the field for this Bengals defense. The good news is, I think the way that the Bengals played the Ravens specifically with Lamar Jackson on the field, that may help them in this regard as well. The Ravens are going to go into this game wanting to pound the rock. That has been their formula of success this year, especially with Mark Andrews being a non-factor in the passing game. And the Bengals, historically, when facing Lamar Jackson, they've always opted for heavy boxes, specifically a 4-3 defense with 4 down linemen and 3 off-ball linebackers. That means an increased role for Akeem Davis-Gaither, who's normally not a starter, but typically sees his playing time increase whenever he faces the Ravens, specifically with Jackson on the field. Heavier boxes not only make it easier for defenses to contain and stop the run, but it also puts one more quality tackler on the field and takes off a tackler who may not be as reliable, because that, aside from the defensive line issues and the pass rush, that's been the Bengals' biggest issue on defense. Their lack of tackling and terrible angles made by their secondary players have been abysmal. And I'm talking about specifically the safeties, former Ravens, Geno Stone, Von Bell, not really getting the job done in that regard. And their quarterbacks haven't been very good at stopping the run and setting the edge either. Against the Ravens, the wide receivers are never really the threats to worry about. Zay Flowers is obviously extremely talented with the ball in his hands, but this offense still runs through its running backs and tight ends, all in the middle of the field, all in the shorter parts of the field. You want to get as many bodies in there on defense as possible, and that's where these heavy 7-man boxes are going to come into play. And I think that in itself can help the Bengals tackle a little bit better just by getting the right personnel out there to defend both Jackson and Henry. The Bengals defense has to play better this week. There's no doubt about that. But I'm going to be honest with you. Against this Ravens offense that wants to ruthlessly run the football and kill clock at the same time, the best defense against that is a really good offense. And that's exactly what the Bengals have going for them right now. Joe Burrow knows exactly what's at stake here. He knows that possessions are already a premium when you're going up against the Ravens at full strength. He knows that every time that he has the ball, that drive has to end in 6 points. If they have to punt or settle for field goals, that just gives the Ravens more chances to take the lead and play the offense that they want to play. But the Bengals have such a balanced attack on offense where they're running the ball well out of 12 personnel, they're passing the ball well, they're finally generating explosive plays throughout all levels of the field. Everything is clicking for the Bengals offense right now, which matches a lot of what the expectations were entering the season. Obviously, the defense hasn't even come close to living up to their own expectations, but in this game specifically, it might just have to be a shootout that the Bengals end up on top of. Because it doesn't matter how much the Bengals defense steps up to the plate and produces some stops. If Joe Burrow and the offense can't deliver their own end of the bargain, it may all be for naught.